What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So we had just talked about a leak for Elden Ring with some gameplay that was put online, and wouldn't you know it, now the game's been delayed. Not too far out, however, and it turns out you'll be getting a chance to play this game sooner than you thought. We'll go over that. Also, we're going to be talking about the NPD sales that's been revealed for September, and it does look like that the Switch's 33-month sales streak has come to an end. And we're also going to be going over a very interesting discovery that's been made on the Switch over the last week or so, showing a fully fledged Sega Saturn emulator that could open up a whole world of possibilities for the platform. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with all the uploads here on the channel. And we're going to start today with the UK sales charts, as I wanted to continue tracking Metroid Dread to see how it was doing over the coming weeks, to see if it completely falls off the charts or if it's able to hold up a bit better, and of course work towards that 3 million sales target. We can see this here with the top 10. This over on gamesindustry.biz, starting with FIFA 22, then Far Cry 6, then Metroid Dread. In fact, it appears the top 3 is basically unchanged. We do have Back 4 Blood debuting at number 4, then Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Marvel's Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Minecraft, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Super Mario 3D World, plus Bowser's Fury, and Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, as for Metroid Dread, it did see a sales drop of 63% week over week. And of course, these are physical copies. However, pretty much everything above it also saw a decline when it came to sales. And that happens. You'll get a big new release that comes out, and then like the following week, you'll lose like 50, even 60% of your overall sales, as most of the people who wanted to get it did pick it up. But still looking at this, it appears Metroid Dread continues along here with its sales. The one I'm very curious about, though, is in Japan once again, because Metroid hasn't exactly done the best there, and if it can continue some sales momentum in Japan and push through like the 150,000, even 200,000 mark in terms of physical copies sold, I mean, Sean might as well start playing Balan Wonderworld now. Also, Valve did release some new information around the Steam Deck, specifically with how you will be able to tell if your Steam Deck is fully compatible with any of the games on Steam, as it appears that Valve is just going to go through and kind of mark each game. They have a couple of different categories, and they did show it off in a trailer. They have 4 of them set up right now. They have verified, which is kind of that green check mark. That's a game that just works great on the Steam Deck right out of the box. And you have playable. That's a game that may require some manual tweaking by the user to play. It has the little yellow circle with the exclamation point in the middle. Then we have the circle with the slash just saying it's unsupported. It's not currently functional on the Steam Deck. And then unknown has a little question mark there. They have not checked this game for compatibility yet. Based on some of the criteria here when it comes to verified, it was based on input, seamlessness, display, and system support, which does include anti-cheat support. So this is a great way to do that, considering they're trying to release this as kind of that borderline console or handheld setup, right? I know it's kind of a hybrid, but the idea here is Valve wants to make this as easy as possible for anyone who wants to get into PC gaming without having to think about, okay, I got to build a PC and then I got to set up all these drivers and do all this stuff, and will this game work on my system or not? The nice thing about the Steam Deck is it's the same hardware across the board, with them partnering with AMD and making a custom chip to make this all happen. So they'll be able to go through and tell you if it works, yes or no, and I assume they'll continue to update this as they go along. Oh, and we do have a bit of an update with the FIFA EA situation, where it looks like EA and FIFA are gonna like part ways, with EA coming up with a different title for their soccer football game here going forward. And yeah, it looks like FIFA is going to explore their own options. They posted this up over on their website, where they say FIFA is bullish and optimistic about its long-term future in gaming and esports following a comprehensive and strategic assessment of the gaming and interactive entertainment market. The future of gaming and esports for football stakeholders must involve more than one party controlling and exploiting all its rights. Wow, that was yeah, that was definitely a shot at EA. It doesn't seem like the negotiations went over very well. Obviously, we heard that FIFA wants quite a bit of money, $1 billion every 4 years from EA for using the name in the title of their game. And I'm sure EA is like, I think we're okay. We'll kind of take it from here and make up our own name and just market that. But, I mean, maybe you could see other companies, other developers come in and create their own game with the FIFA name. The licensing and things around like teams and players, I'm sure that's a whole thing to take care of as well. But you never know. FIFA could go out, try to find some other developers and publishers who want to deal with it, and then maybe you have an actual competitor pop up next to FIFA. We'll see. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the NPDs for the month of September. Now, this does track video game and console sales in the US. Some of them are just physical copies and they don't count digital, like Nintendo eShop sales, for example. But for the most part, we'll see physical and digital here unless they mark otherwise. First, though, let's start with the consoles because this does end the streak for the Switch dating back to, I think, like 2018. It was 33 months in a row where the Switch was the best-selling system overall when it comes to units sold, not necessarily dollar sales, because at times the PS5 would overtake the Switch with overall revenue because it just costs more. But we can see this over on Twitter from Matt Piscatella saying, US NPD hardware, PlayStation 5 was the best-selling hardware platform of September in both units and dollars. PlayStation 5 is the best-selling hardware platform of 2021 year-to-date in dollars, while Nintendo Switch leads in units. I feel like this was kind of expected, however, because the Switch OLED was set up for October, so if you were going to buy a Switch leading into the holidays, you'd probably just wait for the OLED. I mean, that's the biggest thing here, and what I was telling people was you might as well just hold out for the OLED. I wouldn't spend $300 on the base Switch with the LCD currently. Wait for October, pick up that OLED. So we'll see what happens in October, but it was a good run from the Switch. I don't know if it's something that'll ever be topped. 33 months in a row is it's quite a bit of time. But let's go over here to the September 2021 top 20 games, all platforms. Starting at the top, Madden NFL 22, still up there, number 1. FIFA 22 debuted at 2, and then NBA 2K22 debuted at 3. That's right, the top 3 are just all sports games. It's what we like in the US, I guess. There you go. Then at number 4, Tales of Arise. This is very impressive. I saw this. I was extremely happy because Tales of Arise is a good game. There's nothing more frustrating when a game comes out. There's obviously a lot of time and effort that's poured into it, like Tales of Arise, even delaying it to make sure they got the amount of polish done and everything there correct, and it doesn't sell. This is a great spot for Tales of Arise to debut at number 4. I mean, look at the games above it. It's all numbered sports games, and those typically do well. So great outing here by Tales of Arise. Hopefully it can continue throughout the holidays and more people can find out about the Tales series, and Bandai can continue from here producing better and better games there in that series. Diablo 2 Resurrected at number 5. Deathloop at number 6. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War at 7, then Ghost of Tsushima, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, Life is Strange True Colors, Mario Kart 8 because why not, Diablo Prime Evil Collection, Sonic Colors Ultimate, Minecraft, WarioWare Get It Together there at number 15. Remember, those are just physical sales, no digital included there with Nintendo. Assassin's Creed Valhalla at 16, then Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and then Mortal Kombat 11 rounding out the top 20. So overall, it was pretty expected to see a lot of those sports games at the top, but again, Tales of Arise really impressed me to see it there at number 4, and I'm very happy for that to be there. Now, with the Switch and the PlayStation 5, it'll be interesting to watch this unfold as we head into the holidays. We're expecting either be the Switch or the PS5, obviously the top seemingly every time. I don't know if the Xbox is going to be up there as much, considering the PS5, super high demand, and the Switch OLED, maybe higher demand than people were realizing. There are a lot of sales numbers going around right now showing that the Switch OLED is super hot right now heading into the holidays. The question will now be, who can supply the most systems to retail storefronts, the PS5 or the Switch? Because it appears that the PS5 continues to just be sold online, whereas I do see Switch systems show up in stores, Walmart's, Best Buys, GameStops, and all of that. And even we're seeing some stores like Walmart hold back some of these systems like the PS5 for like their own like Battle Pass subscription service for things like Black Friday, or Best Buy having their own, I guess, paywall to get at the PS5 first for like $200 annually. It's a strange setup right now going into the holidays, but it'll be fun to see which system ends up taking October, November, and then of course into December. But overall, pretty good month here for games in September. Next up, let's talk about the Nintendo Switch and Sega Saturn, as a game collection recently released that people started to look into and realize something. This is using a Sega Saturn emulator that is running really well on the Switch, and this one is called Zebra Engine. We can see this over on Nintendo Life, where they say the last week saw the arrival of Cotton 2, Cotton Boomerang, and Guardian Force on Switch. City Connection handled the ports, and they created an emulator by the name of Zebra Engine. Turns out, it's It's pretty good. In fact, MVG did an entire video going over this, explaining it in much more detail, so I would check that video out there and some of the results he found. But the idea is, on GBA Temp, they realized they could then start putting different ROMs or Sega Saturn game files into the game itself and play it on a modified Switch, and they were able to play all kinds of retail Saturn games at full speed. Like, it was surprising to go through because some people now are just posting up entire videos, like 50-minute videos, just testing out different games on the Switch. And we're even to the point where people are releasing like patches or INI files so that they can fix some issues with it. And it appears that City Connection, who created the emulator and worked to get the ports done here, are even doing their own patches in order to fix input lag. And this is opening up all kinds of possibilities, obviously, because now we're thinking, wait a minute, Cotton Guardian Force, the Saturn Tribute, used a Sega Saturn emulator from City Connection. Does this mean that we can get other collections using the same emulator that's shown very good results on the Switch and get all kinds of Saturn games over? Because Sega Saturn games are very expensive online. I know at this point, people even go and look for like the Japanese versions of these games because they're so outlandishly priced for North American versions. So I'm like hundreds of dollars for pretty standard games on the system. So you go to like the Japanese versions, it's like $60, $70 still. So the idea of being able to get some of those really popular games just brought over in the form of a collection on the Switch is exciting to consider. And obviously, I'm sure there are ones people are thinking. Panzer Dragoon Saga comes up a lot. I think the issue there is they lost some source code for it. Could they just emulate it? Maybe if City Connection is able to, I guess, license out their emulator, there might be a whole market for them just doing that. But it's really cool to consider they were able to get these Sega Saturn games working so well, considering the Saturn itself was like overly complex from a hardware standpoint. And that's been one of the reasons that emulators in general have been difficult to create for a system that was already difficult to develop for. Now you're trying to create an entire like emulator for that hardware, basically trying to recreate it through software. It's a massive nightmare, obviously. So I'll be curious to see what happens as we go along from here. Will we start to see just more Sega Saturn collections pop up as we go along? I certainly hope so. Next up, let's talk about some good news and bad news for Elden Ring. Let's head over here on Twitter where we can see technically the bad news. Elden Ring will release on February 25th, 2022, as the depth and strategic freedom of the game exceeded initial expectations. Thank you for your trust and patience. Now, here's the good news. We look forward to seeing you experience the game in the closed network test in November. That's right, we'll be able to try the game out here next month. If you go over to their website, they have all of the times and dates and everything outlined here. They say the closed network test servers will be open during the following 5 sessions. So we'll be going from November 12th to the 14th. And we can see 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. Pacific time. And we have like 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Pacific time. And the idea here is they're just trying to funnel everyone in to try to, I guess, just break and stress the servers. Now, what you're going to want to do, you want to get signed up by November 1st. That is when registration closes. You want to go and pick your preferred platform to play the closed network test on. They have them all listed here from PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and they're also looking for any previous experience you have with From Software titles, and then, of course, your email, everything there. So I would go get signed up immediately if you're interested in Elden Ring. But wow, February has really filled up, hasn't it? I mean, looking towards just the second half of February, that week alone, we're talking Elden Ring, which now comes out on the same day as Saints Row. I believe Sifu's in there, and then obviously Horizon Forbidden West. I think King of Fighters is right in there also. And then to start the month off, we have Dying Light 2. So February has quickly turned into a big month for games. It's gonna be a very crowded month, a lot of time spent jumping between games, I'm sure, for people, but exciting stuff there. I guess let me know which game in February you're most looking forward to in the comments, because that was also our poll, which we'll get to here in a minute. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Dying Light. Now, Dying Light came out 6 years ago. It's 2015. And I remember getting it on the PS4. Phenomenal game. Really enjoyed it. And they've kept it going for a while here. They've had new DLC and content released over the years. And they even released it recently on the Switch. They have the cloud version for Dying Light 2 coming out on the Switch. Not that interested there, but I got a chance to play the first one on the Switch. And it is one of those games that you're playing in handheld mode and you're like, wow, Dying Light is really like a handheld game now. It's kind of that same reaction I had to Doom when I first played that. And on the OLED Switch, looks great with that display panel. But the idea of Dying Light on the PS5 and the Xbox Series is unfortunate because it still doesn't take advantage of that hardware. Well, we did hear from Techland they are working on a patch, a next-gen patch for those systems. I assume they'll push up the frame rate, visuals, all of that. And it also appears they could be releasing retail versions of that first Dying Light. We can see this here, rated over on the ESRB website. Dying Light for the PlayStation 5, we already talked about Nintendo Switch, and then also Xbox Series. And like I said, this is very exciting stuff. I assume they're going to be pushing to some pretty good frame rates there on the PS5 and the Series X. Take advantage of the load times that they can cut down on to, I guess, almost nothing there with the SSDs. And then, of course, I assume lean into things like advanced haptic feedback, maybe the triggers on the PS5, and just overall higher resolution. But it's still an awesome game. If you have not played Dying Light, completely recommend going back to check it out. And if we do have a patch or even just a full next-gen Xbox Series X PS5 version release, considering the price, of course, we'll see what that costs on store shelves. Certainly at least worth picking up the regular one from the Xbox One or the PS4 and taking advantage of that next-gen patch when they do eventually release it. But exciting stuff here to see Dying Light, I hope, take full advantage of the Series X and the PS5. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking a little poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, February 2022 is filling up with new games. Which of these are you most excited for right now? Elden Ring got the most votes at 42%, which makes sense. The Elden Ring hype has been out of control. It's also on Xbox and PlayStation there. And then we have Horizon Forbidden West at 35%, Dying Light 2 at 11%, Saints Row 8%, and then Sifu at 4%. King of Fighters 15 also comes out in February, but I can only list 5 options here. I wanted to get Sifu into the list here just to see how people were feeling on that one. But yeah, February in general, super packed month for games right now. And then, of course, 2022 in general is setting up to be potentially one of the biggest years we've ever seen in gaming. It's going to depend on if, again, games kind of get delayed out of 2022, but it is filling up very quickly. Now, I'm looking at this and I'm trying to figure out, for me anyway, it's a toss-up between the 3 games, that being Horizon Forbidden West, Elden Ring, and Dying Light 2 as the games that I'm looking forward to the most in February. Good news is Dying Light 2 comes out right at the beginning of February, so I'll have time to play that until I eventually have to kind of bounce around, I guess, between Elden Ring, Horizon Forbidden West, Saints Row, and then Sifu is the one I'll probably get to last. But like I said, February, it's a big month already. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Scary Stories at 2 a.m. saying, yeah, the only way I can see the expansion pack being worth such a price hike would be if they included 3DS games instead of N64 or something. Also, only 9 N64 games, one of them being Super Mario 64, which has been re-released how many times now? Well, it makes sense why they discontinued that Super Mario 3D All-Stars collection, doesn't it? I mean, we have Mario 64 getting dropped in there, but looking at the collection of N64 games that they've already shown us, and then considering how few 64 games there really are just overall, it's just under 400 games if you take all regions into account, that being PAL, North America, and Japan. So I do believe that Nintendo is either going to have to add another system in like a hurry, like within the next year, or they are going to really get to the point where it's like legit drip feeding 64 games. Like here's one Nintendo 64 game and then 3 Sega Genesis games. And that will not really help out the value of that $50 tier as much as I think Nintendo believes it will. So we'll see. Like I said, it's optional. This might be something you wait a year and then check back in and see where they are with it. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, it really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today, whether it's the NPD sales for the month of September, the PS5 snapping the Switch's 33-month sales streak, or Tales of Horizon there at number 4. Also, what about this Saturn emulator that was discovered on the Switch? Which Saturn games would you like to see come to the platform in the form of a collection? And then Elden Ring now being pushed into February, a massive month for games already, but which one are you starting with? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.